everyone, and welcome back to Converse with Kayla, where I talk about all things mental health, psychology, and wellness related. So, in today's video, I thought I would speak a bit about my personal journey with psychology and how I got into psychology, as well as my experiences with psychology so far. I'm a little bit out of breath because it's really hot. Um, if you live in South Africa at the moment, you'll know that we're experiencing a heat wave like no other. So it's really, really hot. So just bear with me. Anyways, so I think I'll start off by talking about my high school experience because I feel like that sets the tone for like what you do later on in life, the subjects you took, for example. So I've always believed that school was a very confining and controlling space to be in because I, for example, went to a school that was very, very, very focused on academics, and it was something that was really pushed. The the more intense subjects you do, like physics, bio, pure maths, and everything, the more pressure was on you to become like a lawyer or a medical doctor or an accountant or all of that type of things. So I unfortunately did those subjects, and I won't lie, I did not enjoy it, not one bit. And I just feel like school doesn't really cater for people who have other interests, and there were a lot of people who would excel in stuff like art or even writing and music and dance and so forth, but it just wasn't as pushed or elevated as doing academics and doing well in academics. So for most of my life in high school, I kind of was not really interested in what I was doing. I just did it so that I could finish high school and have a matric certificate. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life or where I saw myself going in the future. So by the time I got to matric, most of my friends, most of my classmates and so forth, they already started applying to universities and they knew what they were doing, and I was just there like I have no idea. And if I look back on it, it really helped me having no idea. And I know that sounds very ironic, but sometimes you don't have to have everything all figured out. And for me, I just thought to myself, how on earth at the age of 18 am I supposed to know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Like, I don't even know who I am. Like, I don't even have a a clue of like what my identity really entails and what my personality really is, because there was no room to exercise that really in high school, exercise things outside of such a very pressurized academic space. So how would I know? And when I stopped, when I finished matric, I decided to take a gap year because I just thought it was really a good thing for me to do personally in order to find myself and to find out like what really interests me. And I thought by doing that I need to know like who I am as a person. And also I also had a lot of personal issues, trauma, I would say, that I felt needed dealing with in order for me to like go forward into this new chapter of my life. And I feel like that was holding me back a little bit in terms of finding out who I really am. Oh yes, I do have a mic today because I realized in my first video the sound was a bit low, and I do normally talk a bit soft, so I think this will really help. Anyways, I took a gap year, and in that gap year, I learned to become very independent, which was one plus of taking a gap year. And I kind of thought to myself, I need to start exploring who I am and what I want to do with my life. And so, in that, I sought out a life coach because this life coach particularly helped me with career advice and sort of did assessments with me so that I could find out like my personality and what type of careers it resonated with. And at the same time, I was doing counseling with her as well, with the personal things and the traumas that I felt needed addressing. So it was like killing two step in the right direction. And I won't lie, every single time I came out of a session, I would feel so much lighter, like physically lighter. Felt like a baggage had been sort of taken off from my shoulders. And I sort of felt really good because I was like, I'm doing something for myself for a change and I'm seeing positive changes happen. And so I highly recommend um, gap years. I know that not everyone will agree with me and not all parents will agree, but I just feel like it's really important for children not to just go into things without really knowing who and what they are and just going into careers that doesn't really resonate with them, and they find out later down the line that that's not actually something they want to do for the rest of their life. So I really enjoyed my gap year. At the same time, I came to some point where I was like, okay, now I need to start like making plans for the future and seeing like sort of where I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. And the top two careers for me, based on this life coach that I went to, was social work and psychology. And prior to this, I had no idea of what psychology was, or I'd never really heard of it or been exposed to it. And I feel like a part of that is, let me just try and adjust this a bit. A part of that was definitely like being raised in a colored family and a colored community. So there's not a lot of talk about mental health and psychology. There's sort of a stigma around mental health psychology, as well as just expressing and talking about your emotions, sort of something that's avoided, pushed under the rug. So that's why I would have never really been exposed to it unless I would have done my own research or something like that. So basically, after that, I decided, okay, well, it's then time to apply to universities or apply to places at least where I could further my interests. So I chose psychology. And then I applied to universities and I got a few rejections. And I was like, the the start of real world stuff and like being in the real world and being rejected. And I didn't experience rejection before that, so it was quite tough to experience rejection for the first time. But I kept on going, and I was like, well, some places gotta give in and give me a chance. And so I got accepted at NMU, Nelson Mandela University in Port Elizabeth. And mind you, I've never been to Port Elizabeth before this. I didn't even know of a place called Port Elizabeth. I didn't know there was a university there or anything of that nature. So now I started to panic a little because I was a bit overwhelmed by this whole new changes that are going to take place in my life and moving to a new city all by myself and everything. But anyways, I made the change, or I made the move to Port Elizabeth, and I started my psychology journey and my first year in MU. And what I can say is that my first year was absolutely amazing. If I can go back in time, I would definitely go back to my first year because I learned so much. I made such nice friends. I met people with different personalities, and it was just a really, really fun time. And I'll forever cherish my first year because it really, really was the best year of my life. And then second year came, and also first year flew by. It flew by like I can't even explain it. It just was like poof, and first year was done. And then second year came, and then COVID happened. So unfortunately, I was forced to do my second and third year online. So that was a really big adjustment because I was not used to doing online. And I'm a sort of person that needs interaction with people. I need to be able to see my lecturers. I need to be able to be there with them physically in person. And I also built up a network of friends and people that I had a study group with, and so that was really rough because I was like, I'm on my own now with online tests. Like it was a bit too much. But anyways, I made it through, and then I graduated third year, and the next logical step was obviously honors. And so I applied. Let me just drink some water, as I mentioned, or did I mention it? It's really hot. If you live in South Africa at the moment, you will know that we are currently experiencing a heat wave like no other. So, anyways, as I said, the next logical step was to do honors. And one thing about psychology, psychology is very competitive. I've mentioned that in other video as well. So I was like, wow, I need to put my. So the thing is, I knew from the get go that I need to work really hard in undergrad to get really good marks and so forth, so that I can give myself a level up and advantage when it comes to post grad applications. So I basically apply everywhere as well for honors, and that's the thing when you're applying for a postgrad spot in psychology, make sure that you apply to at least more than two universities. Trust me, it will you will benefit from that. And I know that application fees can be a lot of money and all that, so I advise to maybe check out the application fees beforehand and then just put a little bit of money away every month, maybe, so that you can be ready for that when the time comes. So I applied everywhere, and one thing about me, I really wanted to go to Cape Town. I've always wanted to study in Cape Town. It's always been a dream of mine. So I was really hoping to get in there, and so I applied to two private institutions, Cornerstone and SACAP, where I currently studied, and I got into SACAP, and I was thrilled beyond measure. So I was like, cool, starting my journey in Cape Town and doing my post grad. Like, I felt like, things are really like going well for me, eh? And so I did my honors, and my honors journey was also one that was very different from undergrad. So in honors, the classes are a bit smaller, and specifically at SACAP, it was a very interactive environment. I loved that so much. So it was not like lecturer stands there, you take notes, and you ask questions if you want to, or whatever. It was very interactive, and you sort of got marks, or you got 20% of your final grade is engagement. So the more you engage, the more you discuss, the more you interact with your lecturers and your peers, it actually counts towards your final mark. So that was really something that also boosted my confidence and also gave me more of a ability to communicate and voice my opinions, because I was not really that person to kind of put my hand up in class and say something, even though I knew the answer, or I feel like I have a valuable point to contribute. I wouldn't normally do that, so that really gave me a confidence boost and really made me get out there, get out of my shell, and made lots of wonderful friends. And Psych Up is a very welcoming and a very supportive environment. So I highly recommend if you are looking at doing postgrad. They also have a master's program, but it doesn't lead to a registration with the HPCSA. But there are so much wonderful courses and short courses as well that you can do at SACAP. So yeah, that's just me advocating for SACAP. But it's really a wonderful place to grow as a person, professionally and personally, definitely. So after that, the next logical step is masters. And let me tell you about the reality of doing masters in psychology, especially in South Africa. It is not easy, okay? It's a very competitive program. It's a very intense program as well. And one thing I think I've learned is that it takes maturity to be able to do a master's program. It takes a lot of emotional stability, sort of, to be able to do a master's program as well. And it takes a lot of experience, life experience, particularly. So, silly old me, I was like, let me see what this is about. Let me apply and just, see where it goes, because you never know what can happen. Obviously, I've spoken to people, I have friends who have tried to apply for masters, and I know the reality of applying for masters. I know it's a very strenuous process, I know it's a long process, and each university has their requirements on what it takes to be in the program, and the application processes are similar but also different according to institutions, obviously. So I was like, let me do it. And I did it. I went through application processes for literally every university in South Africa, because, again, as I said, with honors, that is what you have to do. You need to apply to apply to as much places as you can because it will only benefit you in the end. So I was like, wow, let's put my best foot forward and apply anywhere and everywhere that I can. So back then, and I'm saying back then because I've done a lot of reflection and I've done a lot of self introspection into what I see myself doing in the future. So back then, I was very much set on what I'm going to do. I was like, clinical psychology, that is me. She is, I am her, she is me. And I was like, I'm set, I'm doing clinical psychology. I'm going to be working with severe pathology, and I see myself working in a mental hospital. I'm ready to do like my psychiatric rounds and just learn from a multidisciplinary team in a hospital setting. And so I was very much set on that, and so I applied for clinical at all these institutions. And then the rejection started coming. And I was like, okay. So after the first one, I was a bit sad. I was like, no one likes getting rejections. No one likes getting a rejection letter, especially when you don't know why you were rejected. So the thing about psychology is that there are thousands of applications every single year. So they obviously cannot tell every single person who gets rejected why they got rejected. Although I feel like it would be very useful if they do, but unfortunately they don't. So you also just don't know why. And that's just that. You just have to move on with life. And I'm just like, okay, cool, no problem. And then the rejection started coming in like very, like they came in hot. And after like maybe the fifth or sixth one, I was like, okay, so plan B needs to come into effect. And I didn't have a plan B. That's the thing. So on this one day, I actually got an invite to UFS. And I was like, what? Me? They want me at selection week? Okay, cool, no problem. So basically, I got invited to UFS, and I was like, okay, let's go see what happens. And I was very grateful to be part of the selection group. I was like, wow, I'm so grateful to be here, and doesn't matter what happens. The fact that I just made it to this point means a lot to me because let me tell you, when I got there, I met a lot of people. Very nice people. I was in a very nice group in a one group activity. So the thing about master's applications is a selection process that you have to go through, and usually it contains or it entails a lot of different activities. So there's group activities, there's maybe a written activity, there's interviews, individual interviews, panel interviews, so many different things, role plays or case studies or discussions. Just depending on the university, there will be a different set of activities that happen during the selection week. So I met all these very prestigious people, and a lot of them had a lot of experience in psychology. Some had like a master's degree already, like in research psychology, and just a lot of experience with working in settings where they utilize their psychology skills. And there I was with my honors while still doing my honors, and people were so shocked. And I was like, you shocked? I'm shocked. I'm shocked that I am here with you right now. And people were just like, wow, you should be really, really happy and grateful that you're here because you're still doing honors and you got invited to selection week. And I was like, I know, right? That's crazy. So I felt really good about myself. I was like, okay, something. They obviously saw something in me. I don't know what, but yeah. So I won't lie, I really enjoyed that process. Um, I know that it's very scary, and people are always saying how anxious they are, and like it's a very like scary environment to be in, and all that. But with UFS, one thing I can say was that it was a very supportive place. It was the people were very welcoming there, and never once did I feel very anxious, and that's unlike me. So I think it was just like the environment and the people there because they really made me feel comfortable, and I was not as nervous as I thought I would be, and I actually enjoyed it a lot. So unfortunately I didn't make it there, and then I did cry. I cried. It was a Friday. I can't remember the date or anything, but it was a Friday when we were awaiting our email confirmations of either you made it or you didn't, and I didn't make it. So yeah, I was a bit sad. Like and everything. But as I've mentioned, I do know, or did I mention it? I don't know. I do know actually why I didn't make it. So let me just adjust this thing. I knew that I didn't have as enough experience and life experience as I should have had. So I was kind of just there, feeling out the process. And I knew that, I'm also still young. And there are so many factors that contributed to the reason why I probably didn't make it. So I wasn't too gutted about it. Obviously, in the moment I was, because nobody likes to experience rejection, and it's just the honest truth. But, anyways, so after that, I was like, well, every place is just rejecting me now. I need to make a different plan. Because I thought to myself, okay, with an honest degree, at least there's more opportunities than with just having an undergrad. So either I could go out into the world of work and find a job. But a part of me was like, do I really want to find a job with an honest degree, but then not be working within a psychology setting, really? Or having this 2 degrees now to my name, but then having to work in a place that doesn't really feel my interest as much, or it's not really in line with where my passion lies. So I found out about the B Psych equivalent program, and in my next video I will be talking about what the B Psych equivalent program is, and how you can apply for it, and where they do offer this program, because I think they only offer it at 3 or 2 institutions in South Africa. Like I said, I will make a separate video and talk more about that, because that is what I'm doing this year. I am doing the B Psych equivalent program in order to become a registered counselor. Also, I'll be making a video about the difference between a registered counselor and a psychologist, because there is a difference. But yeah, I'm very excited for my journey ahead with doing registered counseling, and I'm very excited to be able to put all this theory that I've been learning and put it into practice, and finally be able to work in a setting where I can counsel people, and especially work in a community setting. Because sorry, I just feel like this thing needs to be adjusted. Because I just feel like I am very much passionate about working in a community setting. That is why I started this channel as well, so that I can promote um, being a registered counselor, working in communities that are under resourced, and just providing a lot of psychoeducation about mental health and mental illnesses, especially as a person coming from a colored community and a colored family. I feel like there's a lot of stigma still around mental health and mental illnesses, and reaching out, and services that are available for people to be able to seek the help that they so desperately need. So, yeah, that's my journey with psychology so far. What I can say about psychology is that it's a very tough field to be in. It takes a lot of grit, I can say. It takes a lot of patience and perseverance and determination and all that stuff. However, it is a very, very rewarding and a very fulfilling field to be in. And just knowing that one day when you get to where you want to be, you have all this stories to tell, and your experience can help influence, motivate, and just give other people hope as well. So, yeah, that is my journey with psychology so far. I am very excited for 2023 and what this year has to offer me. So, stay tuned for my next videos, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my video. And thank you for watching.